Hi, this is author A.L.McCarroll. I'm coming at you from my desk, bringing you chapter by chapter of my Into the Void trilogy, Book 1, The Pawn. This will be chapter 9. If you haven't, go listen from chapter 1 onward if you want to know what's going on, you don't want to get any kind of spoilers. Okay, so now that all the people that would get spoilers are gone, let's talk about chapter 8, the previous one. Guinevere eats that big breakfast in the cafeteria, something that she would normally not do at all, and she is dealing more and more with the Avengers' influence over her mind. Completely unbeknownst to her, because she's just thinking that these are her normal day-to-day thoughts, because she thinks so much and so quick, it's just like blah 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 in her head all the time. And in the actual digital and physical books, Avengers' influential thoughts that seem like they're her own thoughts are represented in purple. All of Avengers' words, whether they be in someone else's head or not, are represented by purple italicized fonts. Alright, well, beyond that, let's get to how everything's been going. I got to hold one of Bitsy's kittens. Bitsy is this beautiful black cat that's outside. Vader is the dad of Bitsy. There's this whole thing. So Bitsy got pregnant. There's been this ginger cat. I call him Brutus the Ginger Beefcake. He's been sneaking around. And then she was pregnant. We've been waiting and waiting. We saw these two babies, little babies, under my car one day, and we've been slowly getting them to love us over time. And I got to pick up the gray one today and bring it inside and love on it and feed it cream, and it was just the most wonderful thing ever. So that was awesome. And I've got one more thing to do before we get started. I want to give a shout out to another indie author I found over TikTok. It's a lady named TJ Savage, and her book just came out a little bit ago, Light and Shadow. So again, the author is TJ, and I'm going to spell out this last name because it's got some doubles like mine. It's TJ Russavage, and her book Light and Shadow came out. It is very much kind of like a mix of a lot of good fantasy books like Harry Potter, Labyrinth, Chronicles of Narnia, even that show Owl House, if you've seen Owl House. Really good stuff, and it's a great story. I'm about halfway through with it. If you have any of those books that you miss, or shows or videos that you miss, you want to scratch that itch, you should definitely give her book a try. And that is all on the agenda today, so let's get this thing started. Chapter 9. Marcus was in his office, typing a report on the screen that mirrored his calm, when the first loud knocks interrupted his typing. As if he could sense the danger behind the door, he pulled out the camera scrambler and checked the hallway feed closest to his door. At his door were a couple of guards, one a dark-skinned man with strong arms, and an older white man with graying hair and a gruff disposition. Instead of showing his fear, he calmly answered the door. "How can I help you?" he questioned. The younger guard glared at him with an angry gleam in his green eyes. He roughly pushed past Marcus as he moved into the office. The gruff older man spoke in a very serious tone. "Dr. Silver, we're here to check your office for stolen items and illegally created products. Step forward and let me check you." He complied, putting both arms to his sides. "It's in my lab coat." The gruff man, whose name badge showed Laureate, reached out, pulled open the coat, and reached into the oversized pocket, pulling out the camera scrambler. He gave out a tut-tut before yelling out, "Blust, we got something over here." Dr. Silver didn't turn his head as he heard the footfalls of the man behind him. The young man, whose name was Blust, looked carefully at the box. "It's not standard." "So, this is the contraband she told us about." She? Marcus thought to himself. Could that be Gwen? Would she actually do this to him? Surely not. Laureate looked from the camera scrambler back to him with a look of pure disdain. "We're going to have to take you to the authorities. They will detain you and question you. You will be provided a lawyer unless you have one of your own. We will prepare our evidence against you for your crimes." Once Laureate was finished with the memorized speech, Bluss pulled out a set of Gwentech cuffs and fitted them onto Marcus's hands. As they were pinned behind his back, Marcus remembered that these types of cuffs had location technology built into them. It was an easy upgrade that made it harder for people who wore them to get away if they decided to run. Laureate tapped his fingers on his comm screen. As they waited for him to be done, Bluss quickly whispered a threat his way. "I heard what you did to Miss Matthews, you piece of shit. If I had you alone, you'd regret your choices." Marcus chose not to answer the kid. Bluss was just trying to act like a big man. He understood the guy must have been the same age as him, and at a place the size of Gwentech, you needed to do big things to stand out in the crowd. Bluss' words did sting as he thought over their meaning. So, it had been Gwen who tipped these guys off. It just didn't seem like a move she would make. If it was true, she had used him, and was now throwing him away. He felt a heavy weight in his chest and a sinking feeling in his gut as the guards began to lead him down the halls. Daisy put her arm in Gwen's as they waited at the entry of Gwentech for the security guards to deliver Dr. Silver. He would be given to the authorities, who were on their way to take him into detainment. With the hand that wasn't occupied by her comforting friend, Guinevere reached down into her lab coat pocket. She ran her fingers over the crystal surface. It kept her mind straight and reminded her why she was doing this, why she had to do this to Dr. Silver. Guinevere looked up and saw the three men coming round the corner, and as they did, her breath caught in her throat. Dr. Silver glared at her silently and questioningly out of cold blue eyes. As he walked closer, she could feel her shame building. At this point, she was beyond the ability to take back this choice. She felt real tears come to her eyes as the security stopped before them. A mature man with the chest tag, Laureate, spoke up first. "Miss Matthews, we conducted the search you ordered." She could see Marcus narrow his eyes, and she felt like she would be sick. "We found this illegally created device." She was handed the camera scrambler. She had used this item before to change footage at the museum. She looked it over through watery eyes, feigning ignorance of the object as she spoke. "This is not a standard issue item. Good work, men." She pointed towards the doors. "The authorities have not arrived yet, but they should soon. You can take him outside to wait for them." Dr. Silver's eyes widened as he was about to say something. Words came to her lips, and she spoke before realizing what she was saying. "Please do not speak, Dr. Silver. You have done enough damage to me and within this company. We have no room for thieves here." He looked at her. His eyes, which had always conveyed his every feeling, showed her how hurt and broken she had made him with her words. "Gwen." It came out as a low, pained utterance. "Please don't do this." She began to see anger build in him. The guards began to lead him out of the building, and as they did, Dr. Silver tried his best to turn around and yell out to her. "Gwen! Something is wrong with you! This is not like you! It's the crystals! They're consuming you! You need to get away from them! Please, Gwen, listen to—" The last part of his yelling was silenced as the door closed behind him. Guinevere finally knew what he had been yelling in her silent overhead dream. "Now you are free from any more distractions," she thought to herself. The two guards stood on either side of Marcus outside the huge skyscraper building that housed the Gwentech labs. They waited for the authorities to take him away in solid black shuttles. Marcus had seen the dark shuttles pass down the road as he waited for the standard gray ground shuttles to take him from point A to B. They always invoked nervousness from even the cleanest of citizens. Marcus was furious at Guinevere, but didn't want to believe she would just use him and spit him out. Guinevere had told him early on that he would make a good thief, and said there was no room for thieves in the company. He wondered if she had planned to do all this all along. She must have. As much as Marcus wanted to think that Gwen was corrupted by some strange crystal, he also knew she was one of the most brilliant minds in the galaxy. It looked as if he had fallen into her trap. Marcus felt stupid for being so easily played. His chest felt heavy and his stomach felt sick. But he didn't have time to indulge his emotions. He needed to figure out something to do, or he soon would be detained. Marcus began to assess his situation. 2 guards. Laureate was older, but still in good shape, and Blust looked strong and eager to knock some heads. Unfortunately, they were on either side of him, and he was still in cuffs. Gwentech cuffs, with location technology, ran on the exact lock mechanisms as basic door locks. He thought, I still have my tool for unlocking things. It's in my front pocket, but my hands are behind me. Well, shit. Hey, Laureate. The older man glowered at him as he broke the silence. I meant to tell you both, I have another device in my pocket, on the other side. I figure it would look worse if the authorities found it on me later. Just as Marcus hoped, Laureate opened his coat and pulled out the hacking cord, looking over it curiously. At that moment, he took advantage of the man's pause. He lifted his leg and kicked Laureate as hard as he could between his legs. Marcus spun around, blindly reaching out with his open hands, hoping to feel the hacking cord drop into his fingers. He took a moment to think how stupid and risky this plan was as he waited to see if he had made the right move. It must have been his lucky day. Marcus felt the thin cable fall between his fingers and fumbled with it, trying to get it into the correct position. Before he could get a good hold on one of the ends, Blust hauled off and punched him as hard as he could, right in the gut. Marcus had been in schoolyard scraps, but this was pain beyond what he was used to. For a moment he feared what could have been harmed with so many essential body parts being centrally located. He didn't let himself crumble or drop the cord. Instead, Marcus used all his strength to drop his forehead down as hard as he could onto Blust's skull. Cool, just like the movies, he thought before they collided. Holy shit! It was not as easy as the movies made it look, Marcus thought, through excruciating pain. All 3 of them were groaning in their own separate agonies. He tasted blood. He must have bitten the sides of his tongue when he had headbutted Blust. The man was down, and he could see blood coming from the top center of his dark buzz-cut head. Marcus closed his watering eyes and fought through the blooming pain to get a good position on the hacking cord in his hand. He hoped to the stars that it would work. It had been a hunch that the lock for the cuffs might work the same as door locks. He was riding everything on that chance, and he didn't think he had too much else to lose. He had plugged one of the 2 ends into his G-com and rubbed the other end where he believed the chip to be set, inside the metal on one side of the cuffs. It was damned hard when you couldn't see what you were doing. He opened his eyes to see Laureate, who was beginning to stand back up. It wasn't working, but why? He got back off the ground and took a few hobbling steps away from the man as his mind assessed what to do next. He ran the plug down his fingertips, realizing with a jolt that he had it in backwards. Damn it! Marcus yelled. Laureate pulled out an electric rod and turned it on. As it pointed his way, he could see the electricity crackling menacingly. His fingers fumbled the device around, plugging the opposite end into his comm and quickly running the other end over the metal of the cuffs. He felt the cuff on his left hand loosen. His hand wearing his comm was free. Laureate charged him with the electric rod, and as he did, Dr. Silver held up his wrist with the comm, blocking the rod's strike with the device's screen. The reaction that followed was strange, but once he had time to think back on it, he thought it might have been a type of protection built into the devices or a convenient glitch. The rod broke the screen's glass and sent a charge through the device. He had been thankful not to be shocked, but completely dismayed that his comm was now broken. Before Laureate could pull the rod back, his own comm screen flickered, and then the man yelled out in pain and began to pull out the strap on his wrist, dropping the electric rod. Marcus saw Blust finally get up off the ground just to do the same pained dance. Blust's comm began emitting smoke. Marcus took the rod from the ground and left the two guards behind. He ran away, his right arm with the cuff still dangling as he went. He rushed down the closest sidewalk, and as he did, he noticed for at least the first block that people were fighting to remove their comms. Each one was overheating, causing its owners pain and leaving behind a burning smell. Marcus had been lucky to have this distraction and took full advantage of it. He ran down an alley, and once he was sure he was alone, he used the hacking cord to unlock the other cuff. Then used the electric rod he had taken to overcharge the cuffs in hope that the location tech would be fried as his broken comm. He took a moment to crouch down and collect his racing thoughts. His heart was thrashing in his chest, his stomach and forehead were in excruciating pain, and his mouth tasted coppery from his bitten tongue. Marcus ran his hand over his forehead and through his dark hair. The alley stunk of rancid food trash. It smelled disgusting, but this was the safest place he could be, at least for now. He needed to get out of the city if he could, get off the planet. Without a comm, he wouldn't have access to digital currency or his identification documents. Both of these were needed to catch ground shuttles and the interplanetary shuttles. It would be stupid as well as impossible for him to attempt to get away on foot. Marcus looked through his pocket to see if he had brought it with him today. Of all days to have forgotten his old-world-style leather wallet. He thought of it as a novelty, but needed it today. Yes! He pulled out the black leather wallet and opened it, looking at its contents. It held 500 paper credits and his old identification card from Darlene. When he first traveled to Gaia, he needed the card to take the interplanetary shuttle from his homeworld to Gaia. He had forgotten about it since he had digital documents on his comm. Marcus could actually use the ground shuttles with this ID card. He would have to move fast since he couldn't scramble any of the cameras. I should have thought to take the scrambler while those guards were down, he thought in frustration. No matter. You can do this. You got the right tools. Marcus hyped himself up, knowing he had a long day to go, with many dangers to overcome if he was going to make it off the planet alive and away from the Gaian authorities. Marcus caught the first road shuttle he could stop and used his identification card on its scanner when it asked for his G-Tech ID to be presented. He set the location to go to the interplanetary shuttle station, and once he did, he decided to hack the location the shuttle was going, the same way he had done the night he went to the museum with Gwen. Once he was sure his tracks were fully covered, he settled in his seat and closed his eyes. It would take about an hour to get there. He continued to think back on the night they had taken the ground shuttle with Gwen to the museum. He hadn't had company in a ground shuttle before. Marcus sat with his eyes closed the same way he was now. He could almost imagine she was sitting across from him. The thought made him feel sick to his stomach. He pushed the thoughts out quickly. He pulled his flask out of his pockets and took a big swig. He really needed it. His mind kept wandering to thoughts he kept trying to keep locked down. Marcus thought of Guinevere's beautiful brown eyes shining in the golden light of Titania More's dance floor as he leaned in to kiss her. Damn it, Gwen. He slammed his hand against the inner wall of the shuttle. What was I to you? Marcus wished he could write her on his comm. He looked down at his desk, broken glass that used to be the touch screen of his comm. Well, that was no longer an option. Guinevere had closed the door on him, and she ruined him. You would make a good thief. Her words were haunting him now. We have no room for thieves in this company. He let her words play over his mind. He was starting to believe she must have known this would be her final move against him. She had gotten what she wanted, and had no more use for him. Marcus thought about what he would have written her if he could. Guinevere, you think of me as a thief, but because of you, I have no other options left in the world. I'll just have to live up to it. I'll show you how good of a thief I can be, and you will be sorry one day. You'll know you made a mistake by robbing me of my life and turning me into this.
Hey, this is A.L.McCarroll. Thank you so much for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed making it. Remember to give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, also turn on notifications so you never miss a chapter. Don't forget to follow me on my social media platforms for updates. You can find the links in the description box. Thank you again for watching. Stay tuned and take care.